Good morning and welcome to the news review segment of the Power Breakfast Show. My name is Charles Odambo. In my panel this morning I have from my immediate right Senator Joy Gwendo, nominated Senator. Good morning, Senator, and welcome for the first time to the news review segment of the Power Breakfast Show. I'm
glad to be here.
Thank you. I have a regular panelist here, Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga, member of Parliament for Homa Bay County. I was told it's Woman County Representative.
No, it's
Member of Parliament.
County member of Parliament.
Actually, I was with an IEBC legal official and he told me the right reference is Woman County Representative. And I was shocked. Unless they change it overnight. Anyway, story for another day. County Woman Member of Parliament. And of course, Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua, always a pleasure to have you here, Member of Parliament for Gichugu constituency.
Thank you.
Now that you didn't get the Jubilee ticket,
it's not with me.
What at least I know she has the Jubilee ticket for Kisumu Town East, and she had the ticket for ODM for Homa Bay County. So what way forward?
First, I would like to say that to thank the people of Kirinyaga County and the Gichugu constituency for coming out large numbers for the nomination process. What that one portrays is that they have faith in the leadership in this nation, and they were promised. Actually, it's not Kirinyaga, I'm talking about Kenya. Because right now you have a two-horse race. It's between NASA and Jubilee. So both President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga assured Kenyans that we shall have free and fair nominations. So when Kenyans woke up on that nomination day, they woke up to participate in a free and fair nomination process. Unfortunately, it did not happen. And I want to say that from my side, I think what happened does not I don't think it has any participation from the president or the deputy president. What has happened is after devolution, they have emerged some political microclimates in every county. If you happen to be a victim of that microclimate, too bad for you.
You have to suffer the rains of it.
Yeah, that's the way it is now. So this idea, like I'm talking about Jubilee, not NASA, because I'm not in NASA, is that I don't think it's fair for anybody to wake up from Jubilee and say that William Ruto and this effect, Uhuru Kenyatta and this effect. Most of these things, from my experience, is a local machination and conspiracy. Now that I've not won the nomination, what's the way forward? That's your question. My way forward is that on August 8th, I will not be a candidate. And on August 9th, I'll be doing something else, serving this nation. I think you also have to appreciate that there's a lot you can do inside Parliament. There's also a lot you can do outside Parliament. The fact that you have gone through this nomination, we have had an experience which you can use as a learning experience for the future. Because the purpose of being a leader is to lead, not to be an opportunist. I think, in my own opinion, there are two people who should respect one another: the candidate and the voters. I respect my voters.
So it's not a matter of life and death?
No. I respect the voters. That's why I respect their decision, and I cannot force myself into them.
Quite an interesting perspective. I know we'll be looking at this more as we go on. Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua. I just hold it there, but as Njogu Barua says, it's not a matter of life and death. On the dailies today, the Daily Nation opens with a story about 18 million shillings found in house as a Swazuri team is arrested. Detectives from the Anti-Corruption Commission conducted dramatic dawn raids on the homes of top lands chiefs in probe over suspicious payouts in regard to the standard gauge railway line. The story goes on in page 2 of the Daily Nation. The raids apparently also conducted in the offices of the same land officials. Another interesting story, what Mheshimiwa Barua just hinted at: Jubilee and ODM called delegates to a conference in Nairobi, even as the party leaders try to mend the fractures among their troops. The other story here is about a book that says politics was at play in former President Barack Obama's marriage. Quite an interesting insight in that story. Of course, the launch of the new HIV drug and testing kits is also mentioned in page 3 of the Daily Nation. And page 4 has a story about the parties having their delegates conference today and tomorrow for NASA and Jubilee, ODM, and Jubilee respectively. And page 6 has a story about independent candidates getting up to Monday to furnish the IEBC with the relevant documents that they need for them to be able to be in the papers. The issue about Sonko trying to cut a new image for himself as he prepares to launch his bid for the gubernatorial position in Nairobi County is also talked about on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And the back page of the Daily Nation, a story about America and Kenya having their military helicopter sale approved. The Standard opens the story about shakeups in IEBC as the electoral body seeks to reinstate confidence among Kenyans. About 337 constituency and county election supervisors have been moved out of their current stations in a demonstration of transparency and to ensure that there is no familiarity between the candidates and the poll oversight officials. That story is captured more in page 8 of the Standard, and page 10 of the Standard also has a story about good news for teachers, as the teachers' employer meets with the unions to finish issues that are pertaining to the July salary boom for teachers, as had been agreed earlier. More details about HIV fight. There is a new HIV home testing kit that has been launched, and of course there is a prophylactic drug that is known as Truveda, retailing at about 3,600 shillings in the app markets, and of course there is a generic version that goes for about 413 shillings. Later on Citizen Extra today, we'll be having experts from the Ministry of Health who will be telling us more about this wonder medicine. Change of guard at Kenya Airways, page 4 of the Standard. Kenya Airways appoints Sebastian Mikoz as the new chief executive. He takes over from Mbuvi Ngunze, who now takes his leave from 1st of June. Stories about National Land Commission and the seized amounts of money in their homes and offices are highlighted on page 6 of the Standard, as well as the changes in the IEBC electoral body that is now splashed out on pages 8 and 9 and 10. Katika gazeti la Taifa Leo, masuala yaliyopewa kipaumbele ni swali, na mwandishi anauliza, je, kuna uasi Mlima Kenya ama ni vipi? Uasi dhidi ya serikali ya Rais Uhuru Kenyatta katika eneo kati unaendelea kudhihirika, huku mamia wa waniaji wakijiunga na vyama vya upinzani wakilalamikia ukosefu wa uwazi, kama ambavyo alivyosema hapa Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua. Na baadhi ya viongozi katika ngome ya kisiasa ya rais wanatangaza kuhamia NASA, ambako wanasema kuna demokrasia, lakini tunaarifiwa kwamba katika NASA pia katika mchujo wa ODM kulikuwa na masuala tata hapa na pale, na baadhi ya masuala haya yatazingatiwa leo katika maamuzi yatakayofanywa na jopo mbalimbali. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 18 million shillings. The Standard says 17, the Daily Nation says 18 million shillings. Soap by EACC. Mheshimiwa Wanga. What does this mean? Because the issue of EACC and land compensation has been in a committee of the House where you sit.
Yeah, well, I don't sit in the land committee, but we've been following what's been happening.
You sit in the House, of course, yeah.
Yes, so yeah, and I sit in the House. But the issue was being followed up by the land committee, and it was, I mean, it's been very interesting to follow up and to see that there is quite a ring and a web around this land issue, and I think finding 18 million in their houses is just a tip of the iceberg. I think when you look at the issues, I think they run much deeper. They're multi-million, and much more needs to be done by EACC in the land dockets to get to the very, very root. I think this is just the surface. I think this is just the surface. Apparently
the officials from EACC say that should there be enough evidence to link the officials to corruption, then this money will be used as part of the evidence. Is this an indication of the rot in some of our constitutional bodies, Joy?
I'll start by taking us back to when Mheshimiwa Charity Ngilu was told to step aside due to the rot in the lands ministry. But then again, after that, nothing happened, which means we just treated a scratch, but we didn't treat the real wound. So if EACC is really serious about going into the issues of land, you know, there's this joke that Kenyans always say that land issue is very emotive. But as it is, when you look at the cries of Kenyans are complaining about the price of Unga, the price of this. Then you hear that somebody is found with 18 million. I think we really need to get to the root cause of this.
Actually, stashed in their house, not even in a bank account.
That's unfair. You know, it's unfair, and we really need to get to the root cause of this, both the parliamentary committee and the EACC, so that if truly something is found to be amiss, and just like Mheshimiwa Wanga said, that this must just be the tip of the iceberg. And I think we treated just a scratch. We need to treat the wound and to make sure that Kenyans get what they really deserve.
So does your statement mean we are not really serious as a country and the agency is concerned with the fight against corruption?
For them to unearth this, we are serious. But we need to get more serious, not just tell somebody to step aside. That's why I started with the issue of Charity Ngilu, which for me at first looked like witch hunt on women, but now...
She was arraigned in court, the courts absolved her?
But she's still out, you know. So if this is coming out again through Swazuri, something needs to be done.
Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua, is this an indication of our callous approach to the fight against corruption?
I think first I'd like to say that it's commendable that the EACC has managed to get access to this type of money, and as the paper is saying that if they establish a link between that money and corruption, they use it as evidence in court. And this also brings up the issue of leadership in this country. I think most people who are aspiring for some high offices, I think there's a question whether this is an issue of a calling to offer leadership, or is an issue of trying to get a vantage position so that they can get access to public wealth. This issue of 18 million shillings is not an issue of blood, it's an issue of corruption. And let us call it so. Because, I mean, either you're working lands or whatever you're working and you have 18 million shillings, it's a problem. Which is too early to judge for us at the moment. But maybe they have businesses. They have businesses, but you see also as a shrewd businessman, if I have even 200,000 shillings I put in the bank, I don't keep it in my house. What are banks for? If somebody of my caliber does not understand the need of a bank, what about Wanjiko in the village? It's a problem. So what I'm saying here is that the law, which also requires somebody who banks $1 million plus to sign a declaration form, could have actually carried this type of putting money under the pillow. But as I conclude, I would like to say that let us look at the integrity of leaders, because the lack of integrity is always leading to this. You could be a commissioner, you could be a member of parliament, could be a senator, could be anything, but as long as you have no integrity, you have no value in this nation. Integrity is key. Integrity is key. Yeah. Which brings me to the question, Mheshimiwa Wanga, to what extent should this soup go? Would it be right for it to go to the privacy of these people who are being investigated? I'm asking because apparently one of the wives, during the raid, the wife of one of the officials collapsed and was taken to hospital following the rise in her blood pressure. Children in these affected homes missed school because they were barred from leaving the compound.
Well, I think there's really, it's unfortunate that this happened and that the families were caught in the mix. But I think they have no choice. I mean, once you're a public official and you're under investigation and there is a legal warrant, search warrant, then I think there's no choice. This is the right thing to do. If they acquired a warrant and they went and searched, it is very, very unfortunate for families and for innocent children and for innocent spouses when their spouses or when the part of their family members get involved in these kinds of issues. But very thin line between the privacy of a public figure and the openness of a public figure. Joy Gwendo, you have been a victim of this more than 1 million times. Yes. How thin is this line? There's no line really. The privacy of a public figure per se. You know, when the word public, you're already out there. Your life is already out there. So your responsibility as a public figure is to try and then make sure that what is public, what is out there, is something palatable to the people you're leading, to the world. Because sometimes, you know, things that are written, like now you say the officials, the children, you have to be able to be at a point where you can explain to your children that this is it, this is what happened, this is... But you see, sometimes you're actually guilty, so how do you explain it to your children? How do you explain it to them? Yeah, it is your responsibility as a parent to do this. Personally, when something happens, I take it upon me to go to my family, to talk to my child and tell my child, this is what is happening, this is what it is, this is my story. So whatever you hear out there, you know, don't take it, this is my story. So it is the responsibility of the public leader to ensure that his or her truth
sticks with that family.
And just for your information, those of you who remain in politics, Mheshimiwa Barua says he's pursuing other things after 9th of August. Now, the popular slogan, Ndani Kabisa. Apparently, the author or the initiator of this slogan, Mheshimiwa Nick Salat, intends to patent the slogan. And, looks like you people will have to be paying quite some money to use this slogan. The story is captured on page 12 of the Daily Nation. So just be on the lookout as you go on with your campaigns. You may never know when it's been patented and you get slapped.
He has to share the proceeds with NASA.
Oh, yes. NASA gave him the platform.
And he ended up not even sticking to what he was saying. So
I think before you move, if the issue of patenting, Honorable Salat must demonstrate that is the intellectual property. He's the originator of the whole thing. He must demonstrate to the KIPO that Ndani Kabisa is actually the first person to say it.
To have said it.
To have said it, which I think I said it before him. So
now the intonation. You can also be patenting the intonation
and the number of times.
And the number of times.
Exactly, but he said they should not be in any identifiable form.
Mheshimiwa Barua, earlier on you talked about an opportunist. Are you being one here?
No. I'm not an opportunist. I'm just saying. I'm just remembering. I've said it at one. I'm sure Gladys has said it also.
Yes, Gladys has said it.
Yes, not just say something common and then try to own it just because it has gone viral. No, you must demonstrate that
you are really truly the originator.
We are talking about intellectual property, not plagiarism.
Quite an interesting one, but be on the lookout, politicians out there, wananchi. Should Mheshimiwa Salat slap with a footnote. An interesting story on page 8 of the Daily Nation, the shake-up at IEBC. But before we look at that, and before we take a commercial break, I want us to look at the story on page 20 of the Standard, where Teacher Service Commission is now meeting unions over their pay boom that is expected in July. We are already seeing a situation where doctors are beginning to trickle back to the streets over unmet agreements. What's your take about this meeting? Has the Teacher Service Commission finally found a way of handling the unions without abrasion?
I think this is a good step because we are not waiting until June, end of June, and we are not waiting for the teachers to threaten to go to the street
during exams.
And so I think that is a good move. We hope they will have an amicable resolution to implementation of their CBA. So definitely we are looking to see what agreements are there. But what I would like to say, Charles, is that teachers deserve it. The kind of treatment that the Jubilee government gave teachers last year, can't pay, won't pay, was really unwarranted, because teachers spend long hours, work long days, and we've seen the motivation levels of teachers going down because of that. So it was really unfortunate, and I think Jubilee generally has not been able to handle industrial disputes well, because we saw doctors striking for over
100 days.
100 days. This is a very critical service to Kenyans, and we saw the way it ended in shambles, with many governors saying they're not even going to pay for the days that the doctors were on strike, just because the doctors were then intimidated into going back to work, the same way the teachers were starved. Their unions were starved of cash. There were no remittances, there were no payments. So the teachers were literally also arm-twisted and huddled back into classrooms where they are depressed and probably not delivering to the standard. So we hope that these negotiations are going to see a vibrant teacher and a satisfied teacher. But generally, Jubilee has a very low rating in terms of how they've dealt with
Senator Gwendo, yes. Mheshimiwa Wanga is casting aspersions on how the Jubilee government has handled industrial disputes.
First of all, my mother is a teacher, so I will reiterate what she said, that this is a good step towards actually ensuring that teachers get something that they deserve, because all of us seated here, we are products of
a teacher.
Yeah. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I have to agree with her that...
Why unfortunately?
Can I not explain? Can I not explain?
Please explain.
I mean, you know, good qualities of a leader include having, you know, a good hand at conflict resolution. And when it got to the doctor's issue, even personally I was hurt, and I was thinking that maybe some of these things that we hurried to give to the county government, we should then sit down and review the County Government Act and take some of them back to the national government, because maybe it's a burden that the county government cannot bear. And considering that, you know, devolution, it's not an event, it's a process, and we all need to adhere to this process, play our roles, and ensure that everything comes to a success. So yes, the Jubilee government has not been very up to date with conflict resolution, and that is something that we need to work on moving forward.
Njogu Barua, do you agree? Especially the issue on teachers strike and the issue of doctors. Industrial dispute management.
I think...
you remember the can't pay, won't pay phrase?
I don't seem to remember very well, but I know it's been seen somewhere.
Selective amnesia here.
But I'm saying that... what I'm saying is, okay, fine, now I remember. You have said it. I think what is happening is that it's a bit unfortunate my sister Gladys can blame the problem of teachers on Jubilee government. Because this teachers issue has been there since independence. Teachers have gone on strike. Kenyatta 1, Moi, Kibaki, and now Kenyatta 2. They have been going on strike. The same case with doctors. This may be the third time they have gone on strike for such a long time, 100 days plus, and people have died. When you look at teachers, this is not the issue of Jubilee, NASA, or whatever it is. It's an issue of, are these people, have they been properly positioned in the salary structure of this nation? If any government that's in power has been in power, take the responsibility of saying teachers have this level of education, they are doing this type of work, and they should be paying this amount of money, and these are the benefits, there'll be no strike. So what you are saying is, as a nation, we have failed, as a nation, not the government, to come to this position. And the fact that Jubilee is on power now, that is why the blame is coming to Jubilee. But this is not a Jubilee problem. It's an issue that every Kenyan must participate in. On the issue of doctors...
So how do I, as a common Mwananchi, participate in this? I pay taxes to the government. What more should I do?
You have parliament to help you. You have delegated...
Where Njogu Barua
I do sit as for now. And my sister is also in parliament. So also parliament has failed to some extent. We have not registered properly. The other organs of government have also failed. So what you need to ask ourselves is, why are these organs of government not delivering to Kenyans? We must make them deliver. This issue of doctors, we started blaming them on the big government, but by the end of the day, the ownership of the problem went to county government, because health is devolved. We saw the participation of governors who were initially very vocal against Jubilee. So the time has come for us to take responsibility. I agree with Gwendo that devolution is not an activity, it's a process. And this process cannot be achieved through hypocrisy and backstamping. It is actually a process that each one of us must dedicate his or her energy to go to make it succeed. Finally, I would like to say that, in my own opinion, there is lack of connection between the county government and the national government. Despite the fact that we have the intergovernmental authority. That connection, that linkage is not properly defined. You see, now county governments are more connected to their parties that sponsor them than the national government. If it's a core area, that county government is more connected and linked, and actually takes even orders from the core leader. If it's on the other Jubilee side, it is okay, because Uhuru now is on power, there is still not much conflict. But you see,
so even if things are bad, they keep quiet because we are on.
That's what's happening now. So what is happening is that we have actually delegated too much authority to this county government, in my own opinion, to an extent where you're going to near autonomy, which is dangerous to this nation.
I want us to take a commercial break, but before we take that break, Mheshimiwa Wanga, your colleague Njogu Barua has introduced another aspect to all this. The issue about we are all playing blame game. The parliament, where you see it, myself as a citizen, we are all shifting the blame to the Jubilee government.
Yeah. Okay. First, let me just say that we are not shifting the blame. The blame is where it's supposed to be, with the executive. You know, this issue of Parliament has also failed. It is, you know, the Jubilee members of Parliament like to resort to it when things go wrong. Eh? They say, oh, now, you know, even Parliament is supposed to do something, you know, but it's not the case. The case is executive power rests with the executive arm of government. That is the decision to pay. You know, Parliament has even many times said, pay retired teachers, for example. You know, all these retired
even the judiciary has given an order that retired teachers be paid. They have not.
From 97, but the executive has refused to pay. Parliament, a member of Parliament like myself cannot go and start, you know, picketing in front of the teacher's office, say, for example, for them to pay. All we need to do is to pass whatever laws we pass the budget, and then they have to implement it. But let me also comment on the issue of devolution. And when we say that Jubilee is anti-devolution, this is what we mean. Because they always, in their minds, they think functions should be brought back to the national government, which is not the case. The case is county governments should be given adequate support, technical, financial, to be able to execute the functions that are already devolved. We should not be thinking about bringing back functions. We should actually be thinking more about how to devolve more functions, how to devolve more resources to follow those functions, because money follows those functions, so that devolution can work. But also technical assistance. You know, and this is why we have the Ministry of Health, even at the national government, getting a substantive budget still. And they get a substantive budget to be able to provide technical assistance to county governments to be able to implement this. But you find that, as my brother Honorable Barua was saying, the link is very...
There's a disconnect.
There's a disconnect. So they are not providing the technical support that they are meant to provide to the counties. The disconnect is there. The Intergovernmental Authority did not take off. First of all, the Transition Authority, the one that was headed by Wamwangi, it failed flat. It failed on that. So when it was disbanded and the Intergovernmental Authority came in, it also hasn't picked up. The only platform I see where counties and the national government come together probably and make some decisions that work is the forum on which I sit, which is the IBEC, you know, but it deals mostly with budget issues. Yeah.
We'll be taking a short commercial break and right back after that. In my panel this morning I have Senator Joy Gwendo, I have Mheshimiwa Gladys Wanga, and I have Mheshimiwa Njogu Barua.